Well, I guess first of all, just thank you everyone for joining us here. So I'm Erin Reeve, and I am a palliative care doc at Cedars-Sinai Medical Center here in LA. And I will be your host for the evening. And I have with me Dara, who's with Reimagine, and she's going to be helping a lot with making sure things go as smoothly as possible. Thank you for finding the correct link to come and join us and for just bearing with us. It's hopefully we will have not so many snags as we go forward. So I'll be honest, I've never done anything like this before. And so in advance, I really appreciate your patience and flexibility. We have a number of performers that are coming and going. We have one who is hurrying home from her shift at the hospital to try to get here in time so she can share. And unfortunately, one of our performers is an ER nurse up in Bakersfield, California, and they are in the midst of their COVID spike right now, and he actually had to cancel, and he couldn't because he got called in for an extra shift. So as it is in the world of medicine, it is very fluid, and we just have to go with the flow. So thank you for your patience. So I work on an inpatient palliative care team, and I have been taking care of COVID patients in their final days. As well as supporting families to make really hard decisions for those who are not expected to make it. And I'm so grateful that you are all here to help me process that and to express what I have seen and felt. I don't have the answers, but maybe by finding points of connection, we can support and strengthen each other to get through this. I am really tired. I know that all of you are too, both medical and non-medical people out there. And, you know, even with the pandemic, life goes on. This past Thursday, I started my day with 2 earthquakes, and that shook me awake at 4:30 and 6:30. And then we're rolling right into hurricane season for the East Coast. And so if there was ever a time to really dig down and find our deepest sources of resilience, it is now. I really want to thank Reimagine for providing the support to host this event. I encourage you all to go to their website and learn more about them. They are not just an organization, but they are starting a movement, and it's really exciting to be a part of it. So let's rewind quickly to Monday, March 16th of 2020. I had just started that day a week-long vacation. I was so excited to relax and rejuvenate and hang out with friends. And that's the exact time that LA went into stay-at-home orders. So didn't quite have the vacation I thought I was going to have, and I had to channel my anxiety into something. And so I tried to avoid the news. That didn't really work. I tried doing creative projects, which kind of worked. I turned my dining room into a photography studio. I tried playing more music. But the thing that really got me was that I went to a virtual open mic and was really moved by the connection that I felt looking at a bunch of pixely faces on a screen. And for a moment, I felt connected. And I'm hoping that maybe for just a minute, you do tonight as well. So tonight is about coming together to strengthen and rejuvenate our medical community, which can only survive because of the support that we get when we are at home. I thank each of you for your presence tonight, which is such a gift. And there are some who are here for the opportunity to share their talents, some to just process out loud, some to share some funny stories, and some of you are just my family and best friends, and you kind of had to be here, so thank you. We have about 12 people who will be sharing tonight. There are poems, songs, reflections, and humor, but mostly just a lot of heart. We have people tuning in from all across the country, and let's see here, we've seen people kind of chatting in here, saying where they're from. I was going to try to give some shout outs, but I know that we have everything from South Carolina to upstate New York. We've got Tennessee, got a lot of California, some good Cedars representation. And so we've got across the nation where we're all coming together tonight. So for those of you who maybe a little bit not used to Zoom, the chat feature can be really, really nice in situations like this. So let's see here. 1 second. All right. Okay, so it looks like a lot of you figured out how to share where you're from. and kind of how you're feeling, which is great. So there's definitely some downsides to gathering this way, of course. I wish we could all be in a huge performance space and that would be wonderful. But there's also something really beautiful about being able to give a performer some real-time kudos and support. And that's what this chat feature allows us to do. So while they won't be able to hear your applause because everyone is muted, but I do encourage you, if somebody shares a poem and they have a line that really strikes you, put that line in the comments, or some part of a piece of music that hits you and you know feel some emotion, share that in the chat. And then that way when our performer is done, they can see a list of the things and the ways that they've touched you tonight, and consider that sort of the applause. Alrighty. So yes, again, like I said, so y'all are muted, so we can't hear you, but we will be unmuting our performers as they step forward. And I encourage everyone, if you feel like it, to have your video on, because it's really nice to see faces. Even if, you know, your hair's not perfectly done and you're, you know, got all your stuff on, that's fine. It's just nice to see smiles and eyes. So join if you feel comfortable doing so. The way we're going to do this is that after maybe about 45 minutes or so, we'll stop for a little intermission, bathroom break, glass of wine, whatever you need. And then, so we're going to have a first set and then a second set. Okay, good. Everybody thumbs up? All right, very good. All right, so at this point now, I just invite everyone to just take a deep breath. We can never do that too much in a day, right? Just let yourself get centered and present as much as you can or want to. Feel the chair under you, the clothes on your skin, the air in your lungs. Each breath is a gift, and if you are breathing easily tonight, take a moment to appreciate the ease with which the air enters and exits your body. Let's hold in our hearts the people in our country who would have given anything to breathe so easily. It's heartbreaking and an inconceivable tragedy. And part of tonight is about sharing our grief and loss. And I dedicate this event to those who have passed away from COVID-19. The people you are about to hear share have been holding patients' hands, consoling family members, and trying to stay strong against incredible odds. To those of you sharing, I will introduce you as it's your turn, and you can then just share your piece, or you can tell a little bit about what inspired you to create it. The microphone will be yours for about 5 minutes or so to do what you will. Laugh, cry, sing. We are all here to support you. So thank you again for joining us, and I think we'll bring up the first sharer right now. So first up, we have Redwing Kesar, who is a nurse, who's from UCSF in San Francisco. She's a palliative care nurse and educator, and she also has led poetry workshops through this process during the pandemic to help people process their emotions. She's the 2019 recipient of the AAHPM Humanities Award as well, and she has a few poems that she's going to share with us tonight.
Thank you, Erin. Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone, for being here. I realized I wasn't quite thinking of this as performing, but more as just sharing what comes through our hearts and souls with each other. And as Erin said, part of my work at UCSF, I'm part of what's called the MERI Center, MERI. It's a new program. It's a Center for Education and Palliative Care. Myself and Mike Rabo, who some of you may know is a palliative care doc, sort of started the MERI Center, and Mike and I have led poetry workshops at HPM conferences for many years. And this year I had intended to do some poem making poetry sessions with patients and clinicians before COVID. And then, of course, we ended up doing everything online. And I have to say, one of the silver linings is that since the beginning of April, every single week on Friday for an hour, people from all over the world are coming together for an hour to listen to a few poems, respond as Erin suggested, just from their hearts with what resonates. And then we write together for a few minutes, a couple of times during that hour, and share it. And it has been an amazing hour of resiliency and inspiration. And I invite anyone to join us. I can put the Mary Center website in the chat, um, because all you have to do is sign up. So I do feel that our creative energies are certainly, for me, part of what helps me process all of this pain and suffering and grief. I'm going to start with a poem. So 2 weeks ago, someone who's a dear friend, um, as well as a patient, someone I consulted with for the last 2 years through her process with lung cancer. Um, Early on in the pandemic, she realized that if she got COVID on top of lung cancer, it would be the worst possible thing for her because she absolutely did not want to die in a hospital. So she got the end of life option meds back in May. Felt very relieved that she had them, wasn't quite sure when she would use them. But in June, she decided to stop doing her cancer treatment, and her cancer grew very quickly. And she declined very quickly and decided in a very small window of opportunity while she was still able that it was time to let go. And I was with her, as was her partner of 43 years and a couple of other dear friends. And a few days before she died, this poem came through. It's called Ripening for Catherine. I have paid exquisite attention in this summer of hidden faces, walking the streets with unknown expressions, to the perfection of ripening, sturdy fruit. Each apricot, peach, plum, and nectarine has its own special seat in the corrugated container, in their private box in the darkness of the pantry, until it alerts me to its readiness for the light. Each day I feel each soft yellowish pink or dark bluish purple orb waiting for a slight softening to my touch. And I have been rewarded many a morning with dripping sweet perfection onto my tongue and sometimes down my chin. While over the hill, my friend, the swimmer and artist, tends to the ripening of her soul, slowly but surely opening and softening. Still ruminating in the darkest hours on how and why this idea of impermanence could no longer be an idea, but the culmination of every idea she has ever had, of every picture she has ever drawn or painted, or strung together to tell a story as only she could do. We must tend to each other in these sacred times with all the exquisite attention we can muster, with patience, with gratitude, with love. Because one day we will attend to our own soul's ripening and rejoice in the love that held us as we softened and opened and dissolved in sweet perfection.
Wow, that was beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing. I love the metaphor of the ripening fruit. Yeah, and for everyone to applause, sometimes we do this. Yay! Yeah, to show our appreciation. That was really beautiful.
Thank you.
And shared the links as you asked over there in the chat.
Oh, great.
So for anybody who wants to find out more about Red Wings program and also her own website as well, and these workshops that she leads. Feel free to check her out. So thank you
Thank,
so much for sharing, Redwing.
absolutely. It's an honor.
Okay. So our next, I guess I shouldn't say performer. I will say sharer. Performer is too, there's a lot of pressure in that word. So we'll say sharer. I have the privilege of introducing Dr. Russ Grant, who is a colleague of mine at Cedars, who shares a unique perspective on caring for COVID patients. And I will allow him to tell us why his story is unique.
Can you hear me now? Now we're good? Okay. Hi, everybody. So yeah, I'm an internal medicine doctor at Cedars, specifically a hospitalist, for those of you who know what that is. And this is sort of my little COVID memoir. So thank you for listening. January, COVID barely on my radar. Occasional text from a friend asking, should we be worried about this virus? Occasionally noticing someone wearing a mask at the grocery store. February, definitely not on my radar at all. I had most of the month off and went skiing every weekend, spent all my time at packed bars and restaurants on very non-socially distanced trams and gondolas and chairlifts carrying happy strangers up mountains together. March, I returned to a completely different world in Los Angeles. Streets empty, stores and restaurants closed. I noticed a dry cough and didn't think much of it at first until it lingered for days, and then sudden onset of fever, chills, severe fatigue, and I thought, shit, I could really have this thing. How do I get tested? Can I go to work? After many days of phone calls, I made a carefully masked visit to the now defunct COVID clinic to take a test. I waited at home for a few days, feeling worse every day, until I received a call from the head of infectious disease telling me, you're positive. I notified my mom and sister and a few close friends, but I remember feeling nervous about telling many people. Maybe there's a stigma about it. How will it affect work, my social life, my love life? I slept more and more each day, family and friends nervously checking on me and getting upset when I took 12 hours to respond. I was forgetting to eat or drink. I was having nightmares that blended into full-blown hallucinations. Finally, some colleagues convinced me to go to the ER for a chest x-ray and some labs. Everything actually looked okay and I was feeling a little better for the moment, so I went home again with strict return precautions. 3 days later, I was feeling worse and worse, higher and more frequent fevers, agonizing headaches, back pains. I went to urgent care this time and a chest x-ray showed bilateral pneumonia. I was sent straight to the hospital. It was quite surreal walking into a hospital room that I've rounded on patients in countless times before over my last 6 years working at Cedars. I felt scared for the first time that night. I thought, wow, this is real. I could really get sick. But I also felt safer with familiar generalists, specialists, and nurses looking at my chest x-ray and labs, making sure I was doing okay. And also finally I could get out of pain and have some normal sleep. Also the clinical partners I have to mention, folks I hardly interact with day to day at work, but they're in many ways the most important person when you're an inpatient, helping you with the little things, risking their health just like everyone else. I was amazed to see how coordinated everything was, how much goes into caring for even the simplest patient like the healthy youngish person with COVID like me. The only thing that sucked was the food. I suspect it would have been awful regardless, but my constant nausea and it being delivered last to the isolation rooms at the end of the hall made it practically inedible. Fortunately, my sweet girlfriend rescued me with delivered smoothies. In about 48 hours, I felt better, and after one more day, I went home. Then, fortunately, started feeling better and better every day thereafter. I was one of the lucky ones. Although I was out of work, altogether, I was out of work for about 5 weeks, which is the longest I haven't worked since my intern year. April, back at work and feeling the most inspired I'd ever felt. The city in complete lockdown except for the quote frontline heroes, and I was one of them. People seemed nicer to each other at work. There was no bickering, no one getting annoyed with each other. This was why we had all signed up for this gig in the first place. I was interviewed for various social media blogs and even was on Good Morning America. My mom was very proud of my quote press tour, as she called it. All my friends and family were hunkered down with stay-at-home orders, constantly saying how brave me and my colleagues were for being out there on the front lines. Banners and signs and rainbows all over the city thanking us, Alicia Keys writing songs for us, speeches, TV specials, social media love. The irony was that actually the hospital was empty, so work in some ways was easier than it was ever before. Though there was this constant unease, Are we treating this correctly? What's going to happen? Is LA going to be like Italy or New York? Fast forward 3 months, and the weird thing is that COVID hasn't changed, but the world has. May brought gradual nervous reopenings around the country, growing discord, people taking sides on every COVID-related issue. June brought outrage over police brutality and hopefully an awakening about the inequalities still rampant in America. I've heard America referred to as a great experiment. COVID seems to have cracked it all open in a variety of ways and for a variety of reasons. For better or worse, I don't think it will ever be the same. And now in August, as we head into fall and winter and a looming election, the frontline hero talk has died down a little bit. Less signs, less rainbows, no more press tour. And I feel just as much uncertainty and unease as I did sitting in my hospital room back in early March. What's going to happen to our country, our city, our world, our economy, my job, my family, my friends? We know a bit more about how to treat it, but as a society, we certainly don't seem to know how to eradicate it yet. My non-medical friends still ask every few days for an update. What's new at Cedars? How's COVID? And maybe because I'm burnt out on answering, but also because it's true, I say nothing new really, it's the same. And their next question is always, what do you think is gonna happen? And I say, I honestly have no idea. Thanks.
Thank you so much for sharing, Ross. You really have a very unique perspective on the whole situation, so I'm not surprised that you are the one that people ask over and over again. How are you? What's going on? What do you think? So thank God your situation was not worse.
Yeah.
I'm glad you're better. Seeing you walk the hallways after hearing about what you went through was kind of inspiring to see, oh God, people can get better from this. Fantastic. So I'm grateful for your health and thank you so much for sharing that with us. And I like how you were saying about COVID hasn't changed, but we have. Something certainly to reflect on. So thank you so much.
Thanks for having me.
Okay, so one thing that has come from all of this is that there have been different people in trying to figure out a way to support the healthcare workers have rallied different creative minds together. And so the thing I wanted to actually share with you next is a YouTube video. Joshua Bell is a professional violinist, and in his attempt to, what could he do to help? He found a bunch of different violinists in the frontline healthcare community, and he got everybody together and somehow coordinated a violin concerto. There are 6 MDs in this video, 2 RNs, 1 DO, and 1 EMT, and it's just a lovely piece. So we'll play that for you now.
Over the past several months, I've been so moved by the heroism of the healthcare workers who have really risked their lives on the front lines of this pandemic. I'm also very much aware that many of them are fabulous musicians. So I'm glad I have this opportunity to make some music with some of them.
Pretty awesome, huh? Yeah, I was pretty amazed when I saw that. And you're right, from the comment, you're right. There's the juxtaposition of the violins and the scrubs and being in the hospital playing, because sure, that's what I do on my lunch break. Yeah, wow, that's just amazing, huh? And then Dara, if you wouldn't mind sharing the link to that, as Red Wing had asked. Wonderful. So, all right, now that we're all inspired, our next sharer, I'm so glad that we got some participation from a fellow. So this is going to share with us right now is Neha. She is a palliative care fellow at the University of Rochester, which is my alma mater, where I did medical school. And so I've been able to keep in contact with the community there. So Neha, feel free to share with us what you brought.
Thank you so much, Erin, for the introduction. Hi, everyone. And that was absolutely amazing. I'm so in awe of the that we just shared. And the other thing that I was really in awe of was I actually had my very first compassionate extubation the other day as a fellow. And, you know, it left me in awe. It left me moved. It was something that, you know, as doctors, we're usually called after someone has passed. We have to pronounce them, but we're not really there for those like very, very last few moments as they're taking that last breath, that second to last breath. And I used to be present for those things because I was a hospice volunteer when I was 17. So it had been a very long time since I was in those very, very, very last moments. And of course, as a hospice volunteer when I was 17, I didn't have to wear PPE, I didn't have to wear goggles, I didn't have to wear a gown, and I felt like I can hold the patient's hand, skin to skin contact, and it meant a lot to me. And that was the inspiration that made me want to be a palliative care doctor, that made me want to do the work that I do. And so this was just such a moving moment for me that it inspired me to write a poem. And that is the poem that I'd like to share with you all. The title is Eyes. That look in her eyes isn't there anymore. She's gone, she said, as she looked up at me with big eyes. I looked at her mother, whose eyes were glazed, cold hands in mine. And I knew she was right, but there was a pulse. Each moment that passed, she looked at me with those enormous wide eyes, wondering if it was official yet. And all I could say, looking back at her, was not yet, without even speaking a word. Since that day, and every day, all I see are eyes, all kinds of eyes, under the masks and protected by goggles. But even under all those layers, the eyes still bear all. We can't touch, handshake, or hug, but when our eyes meet, so much is spoken. And the room is filled with unspoken words, so that even in the silence, we see each other, we hear each other.
Very nice. Wow. I think you're absolutely right. I think in these days of wearing these masks, we speak so much just from here up, right? And I feel like I hear you that really becoming in tune with what people are saying with their eyes, their foreheads, their brows. You know, we're speaking a lot with that now, and I think we're really focusing on that and reading that. And I think even in things like family meetings, when you're trying to get a sense of where people are and everybody's wearing masks, it's so hard to know how to guide conversations in ways that normally we have all this extra information that's under here. So thank you so much for sharing, and I wish you well in your fellowship. And you are really a brave woman for taking that on at this time. So for that, I thank you.
Thank you.
All righty. Okay, so I guess I get to go next because I wouldn't ask y'all to be vulnerable and creative and not do something similar myself. So I'm not usually a poet, but I do enjoy words. I do enjoy writing. I journal a lot, but it's definitely nothing worth sharing, more just brain dumping. But I decided to give it a shot, and I really enjoyed the challenge of trying to put words to a very complex emotion. So this is called Nights. Nights are hard. The eerie stillness of these COVID streets bleed into a dawn that brings no rush hour. It's a quiet without peace, a misleading calm that is not before the storm, but defines it. With the world in their houses, the sounds of the street feel louder than before. All is intensified, revealed, exposed. The crying child, the revving engine, the arguing couple hit my ears and unsettle my bones. My internal world is no different. Each emotion, once a smooth pebble in the rain, now felt as a boulder heaved into a small pond. Stillness left my body months ago. I am aware of all sources of heaviness, shoulders hunched forward in defeat. This Mobius strip of panic, guilt, pride. I can't solve it. I hate not solving things. The intense polarity of opposing helplessness and heroism creates a tearing of my fabric. And in the night silence, I hear my soul fibers splintering, chest crushed by both fear and faith, eyes shut tight but wide to the horror. I'm in a standoff with my own humility. Am I essential? I have no idea. I build me up and tear me down 100 times on the drive to work. Standing on the front lines with awkward pride, the supposed hero of a battle I stumbled into by circumstance. Cowardly and tired, I want to go home, when not even science and reason can hold their ground. But determined and resolute, I will honor my oath to shadow box with this chaotic, unruly beast. To me, he is no figment or debatable conjecture. So I cover myself, my face, my eyes, in supposed protection, but all just to feel more naked underneath. Nights are still hard, and when I lay down, my demons play poker with my angels, who are trying to win back their wings. Thank you for letting me share. And so the next thing that I wanted to share with you is part of, as I said, one of the ways that I really channeled my energy in having lots of time by myself. I live by myself, and so being in isolation while you're by yourself, I entertained myself playing music, and I actually tried my hand at writing a song. Given all of the potential for sound issues, and just to make sure, I actually recorded myself playing it first thing this morning, like as soon as I woke up. And we've been having lots of issues. So this is me at like 8 a.m. playing my song for you. Oh no, we don't want to see Taylor Swift. Nope, nope, don't think so. All right. Thank you all for listening. I tried to capture a number of emotions I was feeling in that. And so, all right. Whew, now I can exhale. Wonderful. All right. So the next we have, I am so excited to introduce you to Dawn Robertson, who is a social worker with our palliative care supportive care medicine team at Cedars. Dawn and I actually share an office, so we know the backs of each other's heads very, very well. And Dawn is going to share hopefully a bit more lighthearted moments with us. Welcome, Dawn.
Thanks, Erin. You are incredible, and I'm so lucky to call you my friend.
Aw.
I just love you.
Love you.
Thank you for doing this for us.
Sure.
So yeah, like Erin said, might be a little bit of change of tone. I'm Dawn. I'm an inpatient palliative care social worker at Cedars in Los Angeles. And in March, when kind of the reality of the pandemic set in, the decision was made for me to transition my work from the hospital to my home. So for the next, and that was for the safety of my patients and my teammates and myself and my family. And so for the next 4 months, I continued working, but I conducted all my visits telephonically with patients and their loved ones, including some community outreach to people who were like living alone and isolated, who weren't even in the hospital. And a lot of these people, you know, were seriously ill or dealing with death and dying or dealing with COVID. And of course, I have plenty of sad stories to tell from that. But today I'm focusing more on like the silly side of those conversations and the telephonic work that I did. It was a big, huge shift for me and really difficult to adjust to. Outreaching to people in the community to offer like emotional support and check in on them has definitely created moments where that are really sad and where I've cried a lot, but also I've laughed a lot, both on my own and with them. The phone definitely creates moments of awkwardness and kind of like, moments. And so early on, I started keeping track of these funny, like kind of awkward moments, or just joyful moments, because I knew that I would need that to get me through my despair that I was experiencing through all my patients. So now I'm happy to share some of these very brief, silly stories with all of you. So the first is, I called an elderly man who had a history of depression and lived alone to screen him for like mental health or practical needs at home. He was really charming and flirtatious with me. He asked if I was a Cancer sign because I was so pleasant. I said that I am, and he said, "Oh, your husband must be so pleased." And when I told him about I was telling him about like resources for him, including the senior hours at the local grocery stores, he said, "Well, I'm only 87 years old, so they might turn me away." Next story is when I called the daughter of a hospitalized COVID positive patient to check in for support. This was our third phone call. And her 10-year-old daughter answered the cell phone that I called and said, "Hi, 1 second." And I kind of heard scurrying noises. And then her mom picked up the phone and said, "Hello." And I said who I was. And she was like, "Oh, hi, Dawn. I'm literally in the shower right now, stark naked. And my daughter just handed me the phone." And we both just burst into laughter. And I just awkwardly said, "Oh, this is not urgent. Please get back to your shower." And we hung up the phone. Another one is I called the husband of a hospitalized COVID positive patient per their daughter's request to provide just check in on him, provide some one-on-one emotional support if he was open to it. And he lived alone since his wife was in the hospital and the daughter was just worried about him. And when I called him, it sounded like a man answered, it sounded like it was him. Even though I hadn't talked to him, I got the sense that it was him. But when I introduced myself and said I was looking to speak with Mr. So-and-so, he said, "Well, he's not here. Would you like the number for the family?" And then I was like, "Well, well, I have a number. And then he said, just 1 second, let me just go get them. And then he hung up. And then later I checked in with his daughter because I was worried. And she said, oh, he thought you were a telemarketer. And that actually happened quite frequently because I was using a blocked number to make all these phone calls. So no one could tell that I was calling from Cedars-Sinai. Another story, I was speaking with the mother of a hospitalized patient, and she had to get off the phone urgently because, quote, my dog's dentist just rang the doorbell. I gotta go. And then finally, I called a female patient who was staying in the hospital for non-COVID reasons. We had not talked yet. This was the first time I was reaching out to her. She was reported to me to be in constant emotional distress, very tearful, very withdrawn. And upon introducing myself to her over the phone, I was pleasantly surprised. She seemed to be in very good spirits. She announced, "Today is the best day of my life because I finally broke up with my husband." And she had been wanting to make this decision for a really long time, apparently, and just recent changes in her condition really motivated her to kind of take her life into her own hands and make this decision. And she was in such a good mood the whole rest of the hospital stay. So just little joyful moments in very dark times that helped me stay resilient.
Thank you for sharing, Dawn. Thank you. I can't imagine, having to continue your really crucial role while working from home and trying to do everything by phone and not being able to not even see eyes, not seeing this or eyes, just all phone calls. But I guess one of the ways that we cope and get through it is by looking for those moments that make us smile, and you have to embrace those. You just have to, because that's what gets us through. So thank you for joining us and for sharing those stories. Awesome. All right, let us move on. This is the last sharer of our first set, and then after this we will take a little bit of a break. But I'm excited to introduce Gregory. It's funny, this is one of the things that I really hoped would kind of happen from having this event, which is that it got shared out to all of Cedars, actually. And I was thinking to myself, I wonder how many people I pass in the hallway all the time, and there's just this budding talent in them that I don't even know about because we're all running around busy. And here, one of the people that reaches out to me to contribute is Gregory, and he and we sit on a similar committee, actually for helping to make sure that people come to the emergency department, that their wishes and goals are honored and documented correctly. And so when he reached out, I'm like, wait a minute, I know you. Oh my gosh. And so I'm really excited that he's going to share with us his talent. And let's see here. I'm sorry, I should have said that you are the Cedars-Sinai Education Program Coordinator and is an emergency department nurse educator at Cedars-Sinai. So welcome, Gregory.
Hi, everybody. Yeah, this is really quite the event. Really exciting to see everybody and to hear everybody. And thank you, Erin, for putting it all together. And thank you to Reimagine. I was reading about a lot of your missions and values and what an organization you guys have and what you stand for about living for now. It's really important to live for now because life can be short. Which is a little bit of the inspiration of my song. It comes from a place of gratitude. I feel that when you can find that sense of gratitude and grace, it can really bring you through some hard things. So being the ER educator in the midst of the COVID and the front line, I felt responsible and a lot of sense of pressure, to get my staff ready to care for these patients that were going to be coming in. And my neighbors were wonderful. They were very, very supportive. And one neighbor actually put a sign up in her window in the courtyard and it said, "Thank you, Greg." It was just it was just so nice. It was just so heartwarming. So I like to sing, and so I thought, well, how can I repay my building with everyone being so sad and isolated? This is like the second week of April. So I changed the song, the words to You Raised Me Up by Josh Groban to You Raise Us Up as a sense of gratefulness to the public for the public raising us up as health workers, and how inspiring it can be to hear the applause, at 7 o'clock or it was 8 o'clock here in LA, things like that. Just hearing, I thank you for your service, seeing the accolades on the news in New York, and being proud of myself, proud of what I do, and proud of our professions. So that is the inspiration for this song, and I hope you enjoy it. When we are down and oh, our souls so weary, when troubles come and our hearts burden be, then we are still and wait here in the silence until you come and sit a while with me. You raise us up so we can stand on mountains. You raise us up to walk on stormy seas. We are strong when we are on your shoulders. You raise us up to more than we can be. You raise us up so we can stand on mountains. You raise us up to walk on stormy seas. We are strong when we are on your shoulders. You raise us up to more than we can be. To more than we can be. To more than we can be. Yes, we're more than we can be.
Wow. Amazing talent you do have. Thank you so much for sharing that with us, Greg. That was just beautiful. Find out a dry eye on the screen here. Oh, thank you again for sharing. That was really powerful. All right. Well, okay. We made it to intermission, so let's take a short break. Let's just, 5-7 minutes or so, and we will come back at about 5 to 7 minutes or so. Okay? Let's see here. All righty. Okay, very good. Hope everybody got a chance to get something refreshing. Having a nice rosé myself. Cheers. Are there any children on this? Should I not be having mine? I don't know. I hope not. Oh, there's children. Oh my gosh. Oh no, just kidding. Sorry, Delaney. No, you're fine. Alrighty. So, okay, well, let's get started with our second set. So what we're going to get started with, feel free as you're still coming back from the break, we'll just start playing this video. I did want to tell you a little bit about this video though. So those of you who know me know that I have a really strong interest, not just in music and playing music, but also just the use of sound and how sound itself can be very healing in the right environment. That I'm fascinated by frequencies and vibrations and all those crazy things. And so whenever I tell somebody that I'm interested in sound and healing, the name Yoko Sen oftentimes comes up, and I get asked, "Oh, have you heard of this woman, Yoko Sen? She does a lot of sound healing stuff." And so I did look her up, and she's a fascinating woman. So I'll tell you a little bit about her. But the video that we're about to see, Yoko Sen, this woman, she partnered with Tammy Bolu, who's a nurse. And what they did was they collected the voices of 21 healthcare workers sharing how they are feeling during the pandemic. And the result is the video that we are about to see called Sounds of Caring. So Yoko Sen shares this story on her website. She says, 5 years ago, I got sick and had to spend many hours in hospitals. I was so terrified by what I heard. The cacophony of alarms, beeps, people screaming, doors getting slammed. Lying on the bed, I used to wonder, some people say hearing is the last sense to go when we pass away. What is the last sound I get to hear at the end of my life? Sound is largely ignored in healthcare, even though the aesthetics of it could have a great impact on our sense of well-being and a sense of dignity. Yoko says, eventually I got better and the question remained. I decided to explore ways to help humanize our hospital experience by transforming the sound environment for it to be safer, more soothing, and dare I say, beautiful. So Yoko Sen now dedicates her time to exploring the use of sound in healing ways, and she gives presentations and talks at conferences and has given TED Talks as well. Her composition work can be heard as the soundtrack to this video, Sounds of Caring.
When this is all over, everyone deserves a great vacation. Okay, I think we're recording. How I'm feeling. I am feeling
a combination of things. First and foremost, probably helpless.
I'm nervous about what is to come, what I might witness and how that might change me.
What we're gonna see, the decisions that we have to make.
So I'm not sure why the sound is not agreeing with us right now. We tested it earlier and it sounded fine. So I think what we'll do is probably, Sarah, unless you have an idea.
You know what, Erin, I'm actually curious if your sound isn't coming in well either. And I'm curious if it sounded okay to me, but obviously I'm just listening it directly from my computer. Can people just write in the chat if the sound sounded okay for them? Because I'm wondering if it had something to do with your computer, Erin.
Okay.
Okay, it sounds like it may just be
it's me.
Sorry. Okay.
Okay.
Sorry, I feel bad saying that, but let me.
Nope, that's all right. I've seen it before. I don't need to hear it well. So.
Okay, I'm gonna go.
Do I sound okay though? Do I sound okay to you?
Now you sound fine. Before you were kind of it sounded something weird and muffled in your when you were talking right before. But now it's good. So
okay.
maybe.
Yay technology. Take
okay.
two.
Okay, great. Okay.
Anxious and worried, yet at times, I guess, hopeful.
I am feeling anxious, yet hopeful. This strange dichotomy has become my new normal. I have seen devastating loss, as well as incredible healing.
Especially, now that we all watch movies about superheroes, like, heroes aren't really people, but we're meeting it as people who are fallible and imperfect and tired and cranky and
terrified,
frustrated,
tired,
and overwhelmed.
As I'm getting ready for work, I'm scared.
It's terrifying.
Scared, I'm anxious, but I'm also thankful and I'm very hopeful.
I have been a respiratory therapist for 9 years, primarily working in adult critical care.
I've been an ER nurse for 19 years.
I have been a NICU nurse for 19 years.
I've been a nurse for 20 years.
I've been a nurse for over 30 years.
I'm a doctor.
I work in the post-acute care world.
I'm a registered nurse.
We are healers.
As a healthcare provider, this is something we've always trained for. You don't expect it to ever become a reality.
The biggest source of fear is the unknown.
I think it's the unknown.
The TV, the media, the fear.
I am scared of what's to come.
Do I have enough to give?
We are asked to fight with little to no protection. And then when we offer to bring our own, it's not allowed.
It's like walking on eggshells the whole time, wondering, am I wearing enough to protect myself? Am I going to be able to take care of this patient?
As a single mom, no, make that a solo mom with no one else to raise my kids. I worry every day I step into the hospital to work.
Can I safely go home to my family and not worry about harming them?
What if something happens? Who will take care of my kids?
We signed up to do this, but we signed up to do it safely.
Like I mentioned, medicine makes me be the best version of myself I can be, but it's hard to keep that up. And it's have this ideal that you want to live up to because everyone's telling you to and cheering you to, but you just kind of, at a certain point, you just can't.
But at the end of the day, you leave work and there's notes all over the chalk sidewalk.
People are so thankful that you're there to help them. So I feel joy, pride in the choice that I made to be a healthcare provider.
Really, all I want to do is be there for my team and do what I can do and to help them and to protect them and to be there for each other.
Because this is what I signed up for, to care for others.
Just watching people come together has been a really true blessing for me.
Seeing the support and the positive vibes to those in healthcare and others considered essential workers, it really, really brings us up.
By those who I fight alongside every day, by those stepping up to help in any way they can. It's truly an amazing gift to be part of any of it.
Thankful that I'm able to do what I've loved to do for the last 30 years, and thankful that I get to take care of people and still get to be their advocate and speak for them when they don't have a voice.
Despite this fear and anxiety, I will continue to fight, and I will do whatever is needed of me every day.
Because you have saved lives throughout your whole career, and what you do matters.
At the end of the day, I'm a nurse, and all I want to do is take care of someone.
And people just need to take care of themselves. And I hope that they take a moment to do that every single day,
giving and receiving random acts of kindness, enjoying uplifting music, experiencing joy through art, staying in the present, cuddling with my babies and husband, maintaining connections through technology, exercising, meditating, cleaning and organizing, taking time in the sun for lots of vitamin D, and most importantly, laughing and smiling.
And there's so many people that are behind us.
I'm going to choose hope and faith. I'm praying for us all every minute of every day.
I feel grateful that I chose a career that I'm able to help so many people.
One of my favorite quotes is, "You can't always choose the music that life plays for us, but you can choose how you dance to it."
So I'm thankful and grateful, afraid, petrified, angry, but at the end of the day, I'm also very humbled.
I hope you enjoyed that. Certainly a nice exhale. If an exhale could have a soundtrack, I feel like that's what that was. And so powerful to hear all those different voices sharing their experience as well. So yeah, Yoko Sen is a pretty amazing woman, so keep your eye out for her. I feel like she's going to be doing some pretty innovative things as we move forward in healthcare, as we're focusing more and more on patient experience and being more and more mindful about what it feels like to go through. As we heard earlier from Ross Grant, I feel like the more healthcare providers we have going through the hospital system as a patient, probably the more in tune we will get with what it feels like to actually be in that position. Okay, so the next we have, I'm really excited to have Stanley Liu coming in. I haven't seen Stanley in, oh my goodness, what, 10 years, something? It's good to see your face. So Stanley and I actually we were in residency together at Johns Hopkins Bayview in Baltimore. Shout out to Bayview. Stanley was one of my senior residents, and I just so appreciated what he had to share to teach clinically, but also he had such a creative spirit as well. And he's been writing, and I'll let him share a little bit about that, but I've always looked to him for inspiration in a number of ways. So Stanley, it's really good to see you, and thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks so much for letting me join. Hello, everyone. I'm just joining in because I just put my son to bed, but I'm a cardiologist in Baltimore right now, so hello from the East Coast. I know a lot of you are on the West Coast. Erin asked me to share this piece I wrote. I wrote this back in April, so that's the context of this, but I'll just go ahead and quickly read it, just to give us, and I'll explain the context afterwards. This is a piece I wrote called Living with Intent During a Pandemic. Today would have been a date night for my wife and me. Instead, it will be my 27th day of being separated from my family because of COVID-19. I've been apart from my wife and kids since we made the difficult decision to have me self-isolate while I worked in the hospital as a physician during the COVID-19 pandemic. It turned out to be a good decision. During my last week at work, I was briefly exposed to someone in the hospital who later tested positive for COVID-19. It has been just over a week since then. So far, I've had no symptoms, but I sleep much better knowing my family is safer without me near them. 4 months ago, we were making a very different decision that also seemed difficult at the time. My wife was just finishing maternity leave after giving birth to our second child. With 2 young child now in daycare, our annual childcare costs had just skyrocketed from about $24,000 a year to over $45,000 a year. Neither of us were in a position to become a stay-at-home parent. Up until that point, I had been moonlighting on weekends to help pay for childcare costs. It had been an efficient way of making ends meet, and we were blessed that it was an option. But it doomed my wife to being a single parent on the weekends when I did so, and I in turn missed countless get-togethers with our friends and family as a result. We both knew it was only going to get worse if I started moonlighting more. In the end, we decided to do the opposite. I stopped moonlighting altogether after 2019. We decided to live a lot leaner instead. We cut out nearly all luxuries and now cook about 95% of our meals. The upside was that I now had many more free weekends, and my wife no longer had to feel like a single parent on those days. As part of that deal, we made a pact to pre-schedule and treat ourselves to an indulgent date night once a month. Today would have been April's. Our decision to have me stop moonlighting felt scary in a gentler pre-COVID-19 world, but it was one of the best decisions we made as a family. The memories, photos, and videos of the weekends we spent together this year are what is getting me through my self-isolation. They would not exist had I spent those weekends working, and they are more valuable to me now than any moonlighting money I could have ever made. So the moral of the story is this: be intentional with your time, money, and any other limited resources you have. It can be scary and depressing to face the reality that you don't have enough resources to meet all your goals. But the simple act of planning which goals you will prioritize above all others and living accordingly is an empowering experience. Living with intent can help you move one step closer to your ideal life, even as the world around you spins wildly out of control. I did write that in June. Did you guys hear any of that?
Yeah, well, the last we heard was I wrote that in June, and then you cut out for a minute. But we heard.
Oh, I'm so sorry. Yeah, I was. Okay, good. I wrote that back actually in April, and I will say now that my family has been back together since June. We're all healthy, and so far so good. But that's what I remember it felt like at the time, the worst part so far in the state of Maryland.
Wow.
So thanks for the opportunity to let me share.
Yeah, I know that there were a number of families that made that really hard decision to have to separate, and so not only are you isolated, in a clinical and epidemiologic sense, you're isolated, but also just emotionally isolated. You're physically isolated, and with young children, and oh my gosh, just the sacrifice that you made. But it was a really beautiful take that you had on it, of the gifts that you took into it because of the decisions you made, and that's really inspiring, and a great reminder as well, Stan, that it's not just about always making more money. It's really about what do you value, and then designing your life around that. So I'm really happy to see you. It's been a while, and I hope we get to share this space again sometime. It's really lovely to hear from you.
I'm glad, if nothing else, it was a good chance to reconnect, Erin.
Right. For sure. All right, wonderful. So moving right along. Okay, I get to introduce you to a new friend who we have met by email in this last week. Her name is Megan Palmer, and she is a nurse from Nashville. She actually just finished up her shift and ran home quickly so that she could jump right into this. So thank you so much, Megan, for hurrying through your day so you could play for us. Megan is also an accomplished musician and a singer-songwriter, and I actually got connected to her through one of my friends who is a hospice nurse at Cedars, who is also a singer-songwriter. So Megan works in the palliative care unit at Vanderbilt. And so, all right, I leave it to Megan to share with us your talents.
Thanks, Erin. It's nice to meet you. Can you hear me okay? So like she said, I am a palliative care nurse, and I work at Vanderbilt. And during this pandemic, I was asked by an organization called the House of Songs to write some music with my coworkers. And so what I've been doing is spending some time kind of interviewing my coworkers, and then we have been writing songs together about what it's like to live in this pandemic and take care of patients who are terminally ill as well as who are experiencing COVID-19. So I'm going to share two songs. The first one's going to be a song I wrote with my friend and coworker Rebecca Hickson, and the second song is one that I wrote kind of separately as a result of writing all these other songs. So I'll just go from one to the next, and hopefully they'll flow well together. Thank you for having me. I'm wide awake at 5 a.m. I was hoping today to finally sleep in, but something won't let me be still. If not now, when will it will? When I walk in the room, I can feel everything. All I wanna do is my best for you. It's all changing before my eyes. I'm stuck in traffic, I'm terrified. And this is how the day's gonna go. This is how the day's gonna go. I lost 2 friends and 3 professors. Didn't know how close it would come to my home. You never know how the storm will blow, and how it will affect your tempo. And this is how the day is gonna go. This is how the day is gonna go. It's gonna go. I'm wide awake at 5 a.m. I was hoping today to finally sleep in, but in the gray and burnt orange sky, I will try to be still, to be still. To be still. This is how the day's gonna go. This is how the day's gonna go. I hold the string of hope to keep me grounded, praying for lightning not to strike again. Rooted down
hands. We're all tethered to each other, and I'll be waiting to see you until the end. Why do you hold me down when I get to the greatest height? Try to keep me from finding that silver lining. I'll still soar till the air is clear, and keep it going up to the atmosphere. I think of sunny days, fresh air and glasses of lemonade, my friends. We're all tethered to each other, and I'll be waiting to see you until the end. I'll be waiting to see you until the end. I am waiting for this to end. And I know it's just the beginning.
Thank you. Wow. Those were both wonderful. Totally different feelings but both to represent this time. That first one was just, yeah, this is how the day's gonna go, you know? It just really highlights how each day is just fundamentally different on so many levels right now. And, is it okay with you if we share the link to the video for Kites?
Absolutely. I'd love if you do that. That would be wonderful. Thank you so much.
Yeah, I love both of these songs, and I thank you so much for hurrying home from your shift. Thank you for the work you're doing, and stay strong, sister.
Thank you so much. This is wonderful, you guys. Thanks a lot.
All right, so moving right along, we have 3 more. The next one is another one of my colleagues from Cedars-Sinai. Coming to the virtual stage is Christina Shu, who is the Reverend Christina Shu, who is the chaplain with our supportive care medicine team at Cedars. She often leads our palliative care team's reflective activities and is so much more than a chaplain. She's the rock of our team. She really helps to keep us grounded, and she provides such a beautiful presence to our patients as an interfaith chaplain. And she also recently had an article featured in JAMA in February. Christina, I'm going to give you a little shout out. It was a reflection about Chinese American culture at the end of life, and it was a really great article. So if you got a pile of JAMAs sitting on your desk, like many of us do, go back to February and find Christina's article. But she's just going to share some reflections with us, and I'm glad you could join us, Christina.
Thank you, Erin. That's really, really kind. That's one of the best introductions. Thank you. And thank you to everyone who's just been sharing all of your thoughts and all of the vulnerability. This is just my kind of spiritual reflection. It includes some of my experiences and some of my thoughts from the last months. In May, we traditionally celebrate Nurses Week, and we normally do blessing of hands. I suggested that instead of holding people's physical hands, we do an optional blessing at the checkpoint stations where folks have their temperatures taken, receive masks, and a badge sticker. This meant that 2 days of the week, I came in at 6 to 8 a.m. to stand in a line that felt a lot like a peppy version of the TSA, and offer blessings to fellow employees. It was very moving to do it for a few people that I knew, and also for strangers. And it was so touching to see how much they were surprised, grateful, and even tearful. At times it felt like my voice was hoarse from saying good morning and trying to offer meaningful but short blessings through the mask. It was painful to stand a few feet from another person and want so much to reach out and touch, grasp their hands, come together in a hug. Still, I think this is one of the years that this blessing of the hands has meant the most to me and to other employees, and I feel so grateful to be able to offer it to others. I find it inspiring to think of our massive interconnectedness being revealed through this pandemic. I base my theology on that of interconnectedness, that we are all interrelated and interdependent on one another, all of humanity and the natural world and all beings. Perhaps this virus is not a punishment or an evil plague, but an essential messenger, highlighting these relationships, the closeness of our communities, and the importance of caring for one another. Everyone is asking who is an essential worker and what is essential work. I think this virus has helped us to uncover our most fundamental work, the work of being human, of unlearning the myth that our worth lies in how much we can do and how fast, cheaply, or efficiently we can do it, or how much we're paid. No, our most fundamental work is not our jobs or our lack of jobs, nor even the chores or tasks we've assigned ourselves to do during quarantine. Our fundamental work is to love ourselves, one another, and the earth. When I wear a mask, I do it for love of the person I might pass on my walk, or my patient, or my coworker. And we reach out through calls and letters and Facebook and Zoom, and every means possible to tell one another we care. My visits with patients and their families feel more intense, the emotions more visceral, and I find the value and presence and connection with other human beings to be truly healing. And two quotes that I've found very profound for me to reflect upon. Author Arundhati Roy wrote an essay which ended with this quote: "Historically, pandemics have forced humans to break with the past and imagine their world anew. This one is no different. It is a portal, a gateway between one world and the next. We can choose to walk through it, dragging the carcasses of our prejudice and hatred, our avarice, our databanks and dead ideas, our dead rivers and smoky skies behind us. Or we can walk through lightly with little baggage, ready to imagine another world and ready to fight for it." This question both haunts and inspires me. Will we reimagine and fight for a new world, or for a return to normal? And lastly, I've been thinking of a song called "Shine On" by folk singer May Erlewine. I won't sing it because I'm not a singer like some of you, but the third verse in the song reads, "I know how dark it seems, feel it coming up inside me, and I feel it in you too, in everything we do. Next time you see me, we'll both be laughing. Oh, just to be alive, we are learning to shine." I've really connected with that song before, and for me, the darkness inside is grief and fear, and all the death I've seen now, this anxiety and overwhelming fear of pandemic. But I also find hope that the next time I see all my friends and family, we'll be able to laugh together and to be alive, knowing that we've survived this time. Thank you.
Thank you for those reflections, Christina. I admit that because I know you, I put you towards the end because I knew you would just have these wonderful, just pull it all together, just very eloquent way of summarizing, and you did not disappoint. And I had no idea that you did that blessing of hands. That's really beautiful. We'll have to talk more about that for sure.
Thank you, Erin.
Yeah, all right, thank you again. Okay, so we have one more musical performance and then a video. So this is yet another Cedars employee who I had not met yet until today, but she reached out for to say that she wanted to perform and sent me the video, and I was just blown away by her voice. And so we were having a few sound issues earlier. I hope it's okay, but Delaney, is it okay if we share the video, the link to the YouTube video? Okay.
Definitely. Yeah.
So if in case the sound isn't working right or if it's not great, please check out this video. This woman's voice is incredible. So welcome to the stage, Delaney.
Thank you. Hi, everybody. My name is Delaney. I'm a postpartum nurse at Cedars-Sinai. So I take care of all the moms and babies right after they're born. I've been doing that for about 5 years now. And I was originally born and raised in England too, which is why you might notice my funny accent. But I basically was really inspired to write this song during the initial period of COVID, when all the fathers were not allowed to come to the hospital and stay with new moms. And that really just put a strain on everyone, like in every unit in the entire healthcare field. You know, we were all asked to be kind of every patient's everything. And imagine like a 20-year-old new mom with like a newborn baby, a lot going on. And I just had one night when I was just almost in tears because there was a father that called me on my Vault phone just to have a conversation to like kind of figure out how to get through to his wife and kind of calm her down because she was freaking out about something. And I just really wanted her to know, like, we're here for you. You know, this is all going to get better soon. And you know, especially for like our family and friends and everyone's family and friends who were just freaking out. I just wanted to write something to kind of remind everyone that, you know, if we just kind of do what we need to do, we can all see each other again. And it's just, I just wanted something that would be a bit more uplifting. So without further ado, let me cue up my track here. And Erin, if at some point it's just really just glitchy and the sound is bad, just don't feel afraid to cut me off. I'm happy to like have everyone.
Worst case scenario, we'll pause and then we'll just play your video. But let's see how it goes.
Okay. Sounds good. Let's see here. So many days, so many hours since I held your face. Only wish to bring you flowers on your special day. Nobody knows when this will end or what will embrace. But tomorrow's never promised, so live for today. I know it's a lot to take, but it's small price to pay. Hey, even if you can't feel me, I'll be right here for you. Though you may not see through tears clouding up the view, do my best to protect you. If you can understand, do everything in my power just to see you again. See you, see you, see you. Another line, another shell, empty at the store. How brave those who just need shelter to weather the storm. So many simple things that we should take for granted no more. So put aside all our judgment, love like never before. I know it's a lot to take, ooh, but it's small price to pay. Ooh, even if you can't feel me, I'll be right here for you. Though you may not see through face clouding up the view, do my best to protect you. If you can understand, do everything in my power just to see you again. See you, see you, see you, see you.
I'm gonna see you again, again. So please don't lose hope, my friend, friend. See you, see you, see you, see you. I'm gonna see you again, again. So please don't, my friend, friend.
Yay!
I
Well
changed
done.
the lyrics. I changed up the lyrics because it was originally "Please stay home," and I'm now recording a song, and the stay home order is not in effect, so I can't use that line anymore.
Okay. Wow. Well, thank you to your backup singers. They were fantastic. That was great. Thank you, girls. Thank you. And Delaney, your voice is just wonderful. Please, everyone, check out her video. And it's also beautiful with pictures and photos. It's very moving. So Delaney, it's wonderful to meet you. So good to know another of my Cedars family. Thank you for sharing.
Definitely. Thank you so much.
Awesome. All right. So to close the night, just one more video. It's short. And this is Erica Chen. She is a nurse practitioner in the ED at NYU. She's also a musician. This is a video put together by the Lincoln Center, and I thought that it was just a nice, simple, meditative way for us to kind of come down from all the emotions that were shared tonight. So please enjoy. Thank you so much to everyone for coming tonight. I would love to see just a one-word check-in about how people are feeling right now. Feel free to put it in the chat. After experiencing so many emotions and talents, and just a one-word share would be wonderful. I see grateful, I see inspired. These wonderful words. Connected. That's really the goal here. Moved. Yes, not alone, calmer. That's great. That's the best I could hope for holding this type of event. So I hope your hearts are full, your voices are heard, I guess except for those of you who are muted, and that you feel connected to a whole community that stands together getting through this. So stay strong, be well, keep faith. I love you all. Thank you again for coming, and have a great night.
Thanks, Erin. Thank you, Erin.
Thank you, Erin.